New details are emerging tonight in the case against Brian Khoburger, the man accused of the gruesome murder of 4 University of Idaho students back in 2022. A judge unsealed the transcripts of a closed-door hearing, revealing that Khoburger wasn't even a suspect until the FBI was able to link him to DNA that had been found on a knife sheath at the murder scene. Using what? Well, a technique called genetic genealogy, or IgG. Now, IgG, it combines DNA analysis with genealogical research. But Khoburger's defense attorney argued that evidence was obtained improperly and should therefore be excluded. Now, the judge ultimately ruled against Khoburger and now will allow that evidence at trial. Joining me now, Jarrett, a criminal defense trial attorney and forensic DNA expert, and Howard Blum, the author of When the Night Comes Falling, a book on these Idaho murders. Thank you both for joining here. I've been very intrigued by this case, as really has the nation. And Jarrett, I'll begin with you, because investigators took key evidence, the DNA that was found on the knife sheath at the murder scene. They used it to isolate Khoburger. Explain how genetic genealogy works, and is it reliable?
So reliable only in the sense of an investigative lead. Genetic genealogy is not admissible in court like identification DNA because it doesn't have that reliability. It doesn't have that rigorous scientific testing. And so what happens is they take the DNA, they develop different strands or different fragments in genetic genealogy called SNPs, or single nucleotide polymorphisms, and they do about 250,000 SNPs. And they take that information and they put it through an algorithm, and it finds people that may or may not be related to the unknown sample or the unknown genetic sample. And that's what they did with Khoburger. The FBI took over after I think another lab had done so first. And the FBI developed Khoburger as a possible contributor to the DNA sample on that knife sleeve, on the knife holder.
Now, investigators, they didn't actually reveal using genetic genealogy in that probable cause affidavit that you present to talk about the suspect. So how could that possibly impact the trial?
So I think what the defense attorneys were attempting to say was this genetic genealogy, this information from the DNA strand, includes a tremendous amount of personal information, including medical information and such. And they were on constitutional grounds of privacy, saying that they didn't have a right to access all of that information at the same time that they were accessing his relations in his possible related parties in these genetic databases. But these matters are not being entered into the court in any way. They were not used in the probable cause affidavit, and they won't be offered to the jury, because after they identified him as a possible suspect, they then went through this process of taking some trash out of his parents' home, actually like actual trash out of the wastebasket on the road, testing that and identifying a male person in that home as the genetic father of this unknown sample. And that's when they had enough probable cause.
Now, of course, they're going to have to, as prosecutors, prove their case, Howard. They have beyond a reasonable doubt is the standard. And any evidence that will come in will have to be weighed about whether it's prejudicial or probative, meaning helpful to the jury. And they have a lot ahead of them in order to be able to accomplish that. But Howard, police had no suspect for weeks. This was a very high-profile case. Then it seemed suddenly this name surfaced. Howard, how did that change the way the investigation was unfolding?
It changes completely. Up until they had this DNA evidence, they had no name for nearly 7 weeks. They didn't get the name, the FBI says, until December 19th. So that was 7 weeks after the crime was committed. Up till then, it seemed like the perfect crime. They didn't have a motive. They didn't have a murder weapon. They had pictures of a white car in the area, but they weren't sure of the year of the car. There was no picture of the driver at the wheel. There was no license plate. And Khoburger had an alibi at saying he was off looking at the stars at the time. A pretty weak alibi, but still, they had really no case against him until they use his DNA, they arrest him, and then they take a cheek swab. The cheek swab they take the night of the arrest matches the DNA on the knife sheath, or so they claim. And that's going to be the basis of the case against him. However, the fact that they can raise all these questions and they can't put a direct identification of Khoburger as a suspect without the DNA.
This is going to be a really important point, as you said, and this had a huge effect on the community. I mean, this was a university town. People were going home. Students were afraid. They didn't know who had committed these crimes. And I remember so well the reporting at the time. Jarrett, we also learned that DNA evidence from another man was found at the murder scene, unknown male B. But it never pursued that after Khoburger was named a suspect. How will that play into the defense's case? I suspect they'll try to plant that as a seed of reasonable doubt.
Sure. In fact, the defense in pleadings has said that there are 2 other unknown males in the home found in what they believe to be sourced, although this is not supported in the science exactly, but sourced from blood in the home, and then a third additional man on a glove outside. So I think there are some unanswered questions with regard to the DNA in this case. And you are absolutely correct. None of that DNA was searched through the CODIS database, the FBI database. And so we're sort of left to wonder, where did that DNA come from? Who is that? It's not been identified as anyone that's been in the home. It's not been identified as any boyfriends or home visitors. This is unknown DNA from other contributors inside the home. And that, of course, raises very serious questions.
Howard, as your book points out, the idea of the impact on these families. I mean, people want justice for this community and family. There are real people who were harmed, killed, and my heart just goes out as we're processing all of it. Howard Bloom, Jarrett Ambo, thank you both so much.